You're listening to Stand Tall and Own It, the podcast for high-performing female leaders who are ready to make an impact by discovering the safety that comes from understanding their own value and exercising their own authority. I'm your host, Andrea Johnson, and I'm here to tell you it is time to just truly be you, my strong friend. It's time to stand tall and own it. Hey you, it is Live to Lead season. Between October 1st, 2024 and February 28th of 2025, I'm sharing a premier leadership tool that will inspire, encourage, and challenge you to elevate your leadership. If you're local to Central Virginia, especially the greater Charlottesville area, you can take part in a full-day live in-person Live to Lead conference in Charlottesville on Friday, October the 18th. Now, keep an eye on my socials and my website because we're looking at potentially having up to 2 more live in-person events here in the Central to Northern Virginia area before the end of February. If we do so, I will definitely put a link in the show notes. Now, if you're not local or you won't be able to attend in person, you can still get access to this amazing content through what we call LeaderPass. Through LeaderPass, you get 5 days of virtual on-demand access to Live to Lead 2024. This features the speakers that you'll hear both at the live Live to Lead in Charlottesville and other speakers like Malcolm Gladwell, Chris Robinson, and Brandon Dawson, and more. This also includes past speakers like Marcus Buckingham, Ryan Leake, and Ed Milet. I've included that link in the show notes as well because it is such an amazing value, and you're going to hear me talk about it all the way through February. Now, if you're a business owner and think this is something your organization would be interested in, we should talk about a corporate license. If you have 75 or more in your organization, we can brand it for you specifically, and you can make it available to your entire team. Okay, commercial over. Let's get down to business. Welcome back to another episode of Stand Tall and Own It. I'm Andrea Johnson, the Intentional Optimist, and this is our 3rd episode in a series all about leadership. And the whole Live to Lead season is why we're doing this one. In this 4-part series, we're going to hone in on what I call now, finally, the 4 R's of leadership. And it wasn't until I was putting together this episode that I realized I actually had an alliteration going. The first one we did 2 episodes ago was your role. That's understanding your role as a leader. The second was your responsibility. This is the communication basics, and it's the number 1 responsibility of a leader. And today, we're going to look at the results that you can get when you set your team up to succeed. This is all about team success. And for this series, as I've shared already in the first 2, I am unashamedly pulling from John C. Maxwell's book, Developing the Leader Within You 2.0 Workbook Edition, which I walk 100% of my executive leadership coaching clients through. Yes, this is also in the show notes, and at the time of recording of this podcast, it's now 50% off on Amazon. It's only $11. So I actually put one in my cart and purchased it because this is one of the things that will definitely be available at the Live to Lead Charlottesville, either for purchase or for prizes. But as a reminder, before we dive into today's episode on what the results are when you set your team up to succeed, I want to remind you what influence and leadership actually is. James C. George said that leadership is the ability to obtain followers. Now, that could be good or bad. And I've had clients walk through Maxwell's book and talk about some bad leader examples. The whole point is to show that we all influence somebody. There are a few leaders in there that we don't want to talk about people following that are definitely leaders by this definition, but we all influence somebody and we don't always know who we influence or how much we influence them. So the best investment in tomorrow or even in your leadership at all is to intentionally develop your influence today. He talks about 5 levels of leadership, which I walk through very carefully and in quite a great bit of depth in the episode on your role as leader. But those 5 levels, really quick, as we talk about stuff today, are your position leadership, which is people follow you because they have to. Permission, they follow you because they want to. Production, which is they follow you because of what you've done for the organization. People development is number 4, and that's when they follow you because of what you've done for them. And then the final and the 5th level of leadership is the pinnacle level. This is where people follow you because of who you are and what you represent. Now, I want you to just take a minute here and think about all the different areas in your life where you are a leader, where you're already functioning as a leader. If it's a parent, if it's your team, if it's a corporate situation, a church situation, a community organization, where do you fall on that scale? Why do people follow you? If you're listening to this, you're interested in leadership for some reason. So think about where you fall in different situations on that scale and why you want to be a leader. Because today we're going to talk about setting your team up to succeed. These are the results that you're looking for. But if this, as a leader actually, but if this isn't the result you're seeking, then you need to look at why you're leading. If you're seeking a different kind of result rather than team success, rather than everybody like all the rising tide raises all ships. If that's not what you're seeking, you need to really look at that today. And here's the thing. The 3 principles we're going to look at today will shine a spotlight on any ulterior motivation for being a leader. If you've got something underlying your reasons for wanting to be a leader, these 3 principles will kind of shine a light on that and pull it out for you. So let's look at 3 principles that will help you set your team up for success, you and your team. The first one is being a problem solver. This is the quickest way to gain leadership. When I began a new position back in, I guess it was 2015, one of my staff, I was brand new supervisor at the time, telephoned me and was so excited. She was just effusive with the joy over the fact that I was there. And I said, "What is it about me being here that is so wonderful?" And she said, "I've been telling everybody, Andrea's a get it done problem solver," she said. "And I'm so glad that now you're on our team." Well, that's great. But at the same time, that put a lot of pressure on me. But it also shows that even in the role that I played before I got to this team, I was known as a problem solver. As to be honest, it's one of my strengths. It's something that I do well. And quite frankly, in the writing of this episode's, like this portion of this episode, I was interrupted by 2 different things to solve problems, 2 different people, one outside my family and one inside my family. And I'll probably allude to that a little bit more as I go through this. But if you aspire to be a leader, one of the best ways to do it is to start solving problems. Look, life is hard for everybody. So decide now that problems are opportunities. It's a great way to look at them, and I'm going to tell you why. Because problems can do 3 main things for you, okay? When you are willing to see problems as opportunities, they will help introduce you to yourself. They'll show you how connected you are to your people, to your team, to your processes, your situation. They'll help you stay realistic because they're going to come every single day. They'll help you learn patience and how to be pragmatic about figuring out what is the solution to this problem. How do I figure out what to do first? They help you develop mental agility. Those 2 problems I talked about a minute ago, one of them was a deal where I had to actually take some action in the middle. Like I had to stop what I was doing and I had to take some action. The other one was I needed to talk somebody through something. Having the mental agility from doing problem solving over the years means that you can always find an answer. It helps build that belief system in you that there is an answer and you can find it. It also will help you when by introducing you to yourself, it will help you see how your actions actually affect the outcome. One of the problems that I helped this person walk through some things I've known for years. And one of the things she said was, "I'm really proud I didn't do this that I used to do. And I did this time." And I was really proud of her too, because it was really clear to see that she had learned over time how her actions were affecting the outcomes of her problems. But it also will help you become a better leader. It'll help you learn how you see problems, and it will help you be able to see them as opportunities. This pulls out at least one, if not more, of the tenets of intentional optimism. In the optimistic tenet, which is the first tenet, talking about being confident, it talks about, and I used to have a shirt that says this, my glass is half full. I think I have one of those Life is Good shirts that has a glass on it with milk in the bottom half, but it says it's half full, right? It means I have a certainty in a good future and enough information to take my next best step. So when you are willing to look at problems and be a problem solver, one of the things that will help you see is that you can figure it out, right? And that's part of being an intentional optimist. Another thing I wanted to share with you is going back to Live to Lead. One of the speakers that we will have in both the live and the LeaderPass is a gentleman named Michael Jr. He's a comedian and an actor. He's great. But one of the things he talked about, I wrote this down because he talks you through solving problems in his particular talk for Live to Lead. But he says, you've got to start seeing your problems like a punchline. And I thought, what? But he said, you know where you want to end up, right? You know what the punchline is, but then you have to reverse engineer it to get there. Conflict and problems are the tool that will many times get you where you want to go because it keeps you curious. And you know how I love, love, love curiosity. So this is a good thing to remember too, is that seeing problems like a punchline helps you understand where you need to go. But the second thing that solving problems actually does for you, but other than introducing you to yourself, it introduces you to others. It helps you pinpoint who's on your team or who's in the milieu or the mix of whatever it is you're doing, because there's always a few people that show up that can tend to make it worse. You got your problem intensifiers. These are the people that when a problem comes along, the first thing they do is throw gasoline on it. I don't know that they necessarily mean that. I don't know that they mean to be an intensifier, but they for sure do. I don't know why. But when problems arise, you'll be able to see who these people are in the team or the organization. Then you've got your problem magnets. These people will walk down the hall and you can hear it. Ding, 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 ding. Things are just like coming at them and just sticking to them. They can collect problems like a pig pen collects dirt, right? And another way of looking at this is that person who has the black cloud hanging over them all the time. If you know who these people are on your team, then you can actually start mitigating some things before they happen. The third type of people that you kind of want to make sure you know where they are on your team and you want to make sure you know how things are going to affect them so that you can mitigate some situations are the problem victims. These are the people who see you, they may see a hurdle or they may see a cliff or a wall or whatever, and they just literally give up. They just can't. I'm a short person, and and whenever we did track and field in high school or junior high, and they would put hurdles out there, I was like, oh, I'm going to fail this because I'm a short person. And you can put those hurdles down to the very bottom, and jumping over them is hard for me. I mean, even as a cheerleader, it was like, I could jump and do jumps like all the other cheerleaders, but everybody went twice as high because I'm a short person to start with. But if you don't ever try, if you just run up to the hurdle and lay down, or you run up to the hurdle and stop, then you're going to get hurt, right? This is not the way to solve a problem. So as long as you as a leader can see who your intensifiers, your magnets, and your victims are, it will help you learn how to solve the problems better for your organization. Even if it's your family, I may be describing your family, or I might be describing your team at work. Either way, they're always there, right? Every single one. But the other people you want to identify when you have problems to solve are your problem victors. These are the ones who are creative in figuring out how problems can be stepping stones. I always want to be this person. I'm not always this person. Sometimes I have to look to somebody else to become this person, to have them say, that hurdle's not so high, Andrea. We've lowered it to the bottom. You can get over it. Or you can climb. Here's a rope, or here's a ladder, or go around. Even if these are people who need your help, they are still the ones who are going to take those problems and make something better out of them. So problems will introduce you to yourself. They'll introduce you to your team and to others, but they also will introduce you to opportunities. So being willing to see problems as opportunities opens this up even so much more. It means that you start learning how to see them before they come, which is being proactive. You start seeing them even more clearly, meaning you get perspective, which speaks to the intentional optimism tenet of wisdom, of understanding where things are coming from, and gives you a little hope that you can figure things out. But when you see them as opportunities, you start asking all the right questions, and you start to develop frameworks that work for you in how you solve specific problems. But it also introduces you to the opportunity, especially with your team, of shared problem solving. Just like these two situations that came up while I was trying to write this portion of my podcast episode, two heads are usually better than one. They give you a different perspective. They help you to figure things out. They see things differently. One can be emotional, one can be logical. Having a shared problem solving agenda is very, very helpful. But then on top of that, it helps you come up with more than one solution. It helps you cultivate a bias for action. I'm one of those people. If you put me on a team, I'm usually like, what are the action items? What are we doing to move forward here? But it also helps you learn to look for opportunities in every problem, not just seeing problems as an opportunity, but opportunities within the problem. This speaks to the proactive element of the optimistic tenet in intentional optimism. Just understanding that preparation makes the journey easier, promoting unity of vision and mission, and being willing to walk into any situation with your eyes wide open, man, that really changes the perspective when it comes to problem solving. Now, if problem solving is the quickest Now, if problem solving is the quickest way to gain leadership, ask yourself these questions. First, how do you approach problem solving? What's your approach? Do you find yourself in one of those magnet intensifier victim things? Do you see problems as hurdles, or do you see them as opportunities? What have you already learned about yourself and others through problem solving? When you start looking around, you're probably going to be able to look at those things that I listed off here and be able to say, oh, I did. Yeah, I see that. I see this person as that. And this person is somebody that I can really go to, and we can put our heads together and we can really make a difference. But the third question is, are you willing to see the opportunities in problem solving? Because the first way to set you and your team up for success is to be a problem solver. So I hope that helps you see problems in a whole new light and to build you and your team up as leaders, because this is the kind of results that you're looking for when you are interested in leading at all. You always want to build you and your team up. So that's the first way. Setting your team up for success to see problems in a whole new light will build them up. The second way to set your team up for success is to serve. Service is the heart of leadership. Eugene Habaker said, "The true leader serves people and serves their best interests." There is power in servant leadership. Some of the most powerful and revered leaders in history, like Gandhi, Jesus, Schweitzer, Mandela, MLK, they actually had the power because of their servant stance. The attitude, priority, and practice of serving others makes really good business sense and is accessible to anyone. This power is accessible to all. It doesn't matter where you fall on the team. It doesn't matter if you're the leader or if you're just a team member or if you're a sole contributor. You're serving on some kind of team somewhere, especially if you're in a family or community organization. These are very, very important. Now, if you're wondering how, if you're not sure you're good at this, you can use these questions, and he lays these out in the book quite clearly. And like I shared before, the reason I like the workbook is because there's always application points ready to go, right? So if you're not sure if you're good at being a servant leader, use these questions to kind of get you there. Number one, what can I do to add value? You know, we always go further and we get more done together than we do alone. So what can I do for the people to help them succeed? Number two, what can I do every day? He calls it the everyday question. What do people need from me daily that they might not want to ask for? As a manager, I loved saying the phrase, my door is wide open. Come on in. I am always available. I didn't really get a lot of traction that way as a leader. I was then introduced by a well-meaning, and actually not even just well-meaning, just a very helpful colleague who said, you need to practice management by walking around. And I said, what is management by walking around? And I think he might have used an acronym, but I'm just going to say the whole thing out loud. But here's the deal. When you get up and you walk around and you get in other people's space, I'm talking a business organization, where you get in their cubicles or you walk around and say hello to them or to their office, it's amazing what you learn and how you can meet the needs of your team by going into their space. You're going to see things that you wouldn't normally have seen. So many times people are not going to ask you for something, but if you're walking through and you hear a squeaky chair, a squeaky chair, a squeaky chair, then maybe you can help them, as the leader, get a new chair, little things like that. I've shared before, I think I had a staff member that pretty much kept to herself, but if you went into her office, she would keep you there for a long time talking because she just was introverted and a little bit shy. But on her wall, she had Formula One pictures, she had cat pictures, these were the things that she loved. And so I knew how to meet her needs in certain areas and how to build bridges with her because I was willing to walk around and do management by walking around and saying, what does she need from me daily? Well, she might need me to check in and say hi because she gets lonely, right? The third question is, how can I improve? What is it that I need to do better to serve people better? We always have room for improvement, every single one of us. The fourth is evaluation. And this is not a fun one all the time, but how will you know that you're serving people well? Well, you need to grade yourself. You could do other kinds of grading systems. This is not, I don't mean by this like a yearly review from your boss. I mean something else. when I was at Johns Hopkins, one of the things we had to do was take some personal and professional development courses every year. We had to prove that we had taken a certain number of hours. I thought it was a great thing until I accidentally signed up for something that turned out to be a 360 review, meaning people from above, equal to, and quote, below you on the scale of your business, from all 360, they review you and you review yourself. At the time, I was like a mid-level administrative assistant. I didn't have anybody that I supervised. So I handed it out, because you have to give it to like 10 people. I handed it out to some PhD students and some lab techs, because I was working in medical research at the time, and some colleagues and a couple of people that I reported to. And let me tell you, it will point out to you some blind spots that you have, which is the next thing. The next question to ask is, what is it like for the people who work with me? Getting a 360 will give you a good understanding of your blind spots, but being able to sit and think about what it's like for the person who sits across the table from you. Well, I have a mentor who says, be the person on the other side of the table, Andrea. Think about what the person on the other side of the table is thinking about, listening to, hearing from you. And just know that being in a leadership position will compound your blind spots. As humans, we all have blind spots. You can't see them. But when you're in a leadership position, not only can you not see them, but many times people are not comfortable telling you what they are. So they are afraid to tell you. So you might need to ask. I have another coach who just recently posted on LinkedIn that she had, because many of us are using ChatGPT for prompts and to kind of prime the pump on certain things. I use it for a lot of my social media to get me started. But anyway, she said that she put in there as a prompt, tell me what my blind spots are. You've been working with me for 6 months. Tell me, how much have you learned about me? And then she posted the response on LinkedIn and she said, man, the robots just really got it right. So of course I did it because I'm like, this sounds really fun. And the robot got it right and I didn't love it. But it pointed out things like I'm probably really good at encouraging other people, but I don't give myself enough grace. And because I am really capable and I talk about leadership all the time, I may not be delegating well. And these are like all things that really happen for me. So if you don't want to do ChatGPT and you are interested in a 360 and your company or where your organization may not offer it, I have one of those. If you're interested, Maxwell has a 360 and it is very helpful to kind of see. The sixth area, or the question that you can ask yourself, is it's a respect question. How can I gain value while still adding value to others by serving? In other words, serving others as a purification effect on your motives. If you ever feel like perhaps you're getting a little too high on your horse, or perhaps you might need a little reality check, service is the best way to get it. The seventh question is, what are your gifts? What do I do best that allows me to serve people well? I've been talking about playing to your strengths for years and going all the way back to childhood. One of my childhood friends, her dad used to sing the song. I don't know who recorded it, but it was in like the 40s maybe. Maybe it was Bing Crosby. And if she listens to this, she's probably going to say, no, Andrea, it was this person. But it was called Accentuate the Positive and Eliminate the Negative. And so I heard that as a kid from my friend, and it just really kind of stuck with me. I always love to play to our strengths. And when we shine in our strengths, we do best for ourselves and for others. And the final question to ask yourself as to whether or not you're a good servant leader is, what kind of example are you setting? How can you serve people in a way that will inspire them to serve others? This is a conscious effort to mentor and to grow the next generation. This speaks to the intentional optimism tenet of courage and leadership. And it says, my charismatic care for others draws them in. Look, you lead through service. You share your vision, inspiring those around you. And when people know how much you care, they'll come, right? They will actually follow. So if serving is the heart of leadership, you might want to ask yourself these three questions. Number one, what do you find most challenging about serving others? I know that it can be challenging for me. Number two, what is the single best way that you can serve your team, your family, your organization in your current leadership role? As the mom in this family, I have a specific role. As a teacher at church, I have a specific role. In this podcast, I have a specific role. So it depends on what your role is. So what is the single best way you can serve in any of those roles? And have your motivations for serving others changed over the course of your own leadership? I think they do as we mature, but I think it's a really good question for you to ponder. So first, you set you and your team up for success by seeing problems in a whole new light. And second, you build up your team through service. And then third is vision. This is the indispensable quality of leadership. Without it, a team's energy ebbs. People miss deadlines, personal agendas take over, production falls, and eventually a team is just going to fall apart. How many times have you heard the old adage, people don't leave corporations or organizations, they leave people? A clear vision provides significance, motivation, and inspiration for all of us, starting with you and then for those who you would like to have follow you. Now, I don't necessarily I have a vision statement and a mission statement for my business, and I share that usually in this podcast. But if you don't have a vision statement, you probably need something, right? Because Maxwell talks about how all leaders tend to see more and they see it before others do. But it's important not to hold that in and just keep it to yourself. It's important to share it because what you see, and this is true for all of us, it determines what you can be. It's like having a map in front of you or an understanding of what the puzzle looks like before you go to put it together. If you can't see what the picture is supposed to be on the top of the puzzle box, you may not be able to actually put the puzzle together. But the next piece is that you can only see what you're prepared to see. And this is a mindset situation. So you've got to have that map, but you also then need to have a mindset that helps you see what's there and then helps you take those puzzle pieces and put them together the way it's supposed to look like on the top of the box. But the other piece is that what you see is what you get. He makes this statement, good leaders believe and then see, while most people want to see first and then believe, right? I'll see it when I believe it. And good leaders need to say, I believe it so I can see it. Now, how do you actually take that vision or that visionary aspect of leadership, which he calls your more and before, how do you increase that? Well, to know that there is more and before, you need to know that there is more out there. It's not a zero-sum game. I was walking through the house the other day, and my husband's watching a documentary talking about some politician, and their parent was a zero-sum. And this is literally as I'm walking through, it's like, yeah, this person's parent was a zero-sum game person. Life's not a zero-sum game, my friends. Be willing to talk about it and go looking for it. You've got to know there is more before you can go see it, right? Then you need to develop your process for finding it. Everybody's process is a little different. I have a colleague that goes on, I tell you what, almost every time she talks to me, she's going on some kind of retreat. If it's a quarterly retreat with a business partner, if it's a monthly or a quarterly retreat by herself, I am so jealous. I got to get me some retreat action going. But it may be that that's the way she develops her process. And I have to develop my own process for knowing, and whatever your process is, you need to develop yours to be able to know and figure out how to see more of what's out there. The other thing you can do is spend time with the people who inspire you to see more. You know who they are. These are the people who scare you. I have a mentor that usually scares me to death whenever I meet with her, or she says, I need to meet with you about something. I'm like, oh no. And it's never bad. It's always good. The ideas, the inspiration, the vision, it comes at me like water out of a fire hose, but I know that she will help me increase and expand my vision. You need to be willing to spend time with these people who are willing to do that for you. I wasn't always. I used to be very intimidated. Now I welcome it. Another aspect or another way to do this is to get curious. Ask questions. Just like with my mentor, I'm always asking questions and finding out, like, I go to her for things, and actually I have more than one, but I go to different mentors for different things, and I ask questions because I need somebody to give me a different perspective and to help me see something bigger. You know that old saying that you are the average of the 5 people that you spend the most time with? This is where that kind of thing pays off. It helps you to see more sooner, right? And then intentionally grow every day. This is going to increase your capacity. I have started walking with a weighted vest because my sister did it, and because I want to compete with my sister, which is probably a statement truer than I'm joking about it. It's probably a truer statement. I'm very inspired by my sister, who has done really, really well in taking care of herself as we age, right? We are in this middle age. I'm 58. She's younger than me. But I want to make sure that I am increasing my lung capacity and my bone density and all we're willing to do these things for ourselves physically. But what about growing your capacity as a leader? Growing your capacity to see the vision, growing your capacity to serve others. This is something that we need to be willing to do every single day. And if it sounds intentional, it is. There's a reason I'm called the intentional optimist. All of this stuff has to be intentional. But it's not just enough to increase your ability to see more and before. You have to personally own the vision. Only when it is your dream or vision will you be motivated, excited, ready, and willing to do whatever it takes to get there. If it's somebody else's dream or vision, you're going to need something external, some kind of external motivation. And sometimes it's fear, like getting good grades on an exam. It won't be fulfilling. It will likely pull you completely out of your strength zone. And then talk about no capabilities and no capacity. And this is what I'm talking about when I say you need to know your core values. This is where understanding yours can be pivotal to a leader, especially in the area of vision. It's what I mean when I say stop imitating other people's principles and priorities and develop your own for a sustainable, impactful leadership. Carl Jung said this: your vision will become clear only when you look into your heart. Who looks outside dreams, who looks inside awakens. And the goal here is to understand yourself enough and your vision enough and own it so that you can then share it. So if vision is the indispensable quality of leadership, 3 more questions. Do you have your own vision statement? What about for your team? Do you guys have a mission and vision statement? And they're different. I say mission and vision together because that's usually how they're presented. What about if you're not the leader? What role can you play in developing or sharing the vision of the team? Or if you're a mid-level leader or a low-level leader and you have a few people on your team, how can you create a vision that works with the rest of the organization? Do you know your core values and how they can be employed to serve or clarify your vision? Because every single client I work with, as their core values become clearer, their vision becomes clearer. Trust me on this. It's a 100% guarantee every single time. So the 3 principles that will help you set you and your team up for success are: first, the quickest way to gain leadership and help your team succeed is to solve problems. Second, the heart of leadership, real leadership, is service. And third, the indispensable quality of good leadership is vision. And I promised you that these 3 principles would shine a spotlight on any ulterior motivation that you might have for being a leader. What is the spotlight revealing for you, my friend? For me, problem solving is a strength. People called me in the middle of writing this episode in order to help solve problems. Service, it's a little more of a challenge. I'm still young in my business. My money mindset is not where I want it to be, or not. It's not to a place where I feel completely abundant all the time. All of those things. And sometimes I kind of skimp on serving others because I'm afraid, right? And I think that's something to look at. Vision, it needs to be employed everywhere. For me, I know what the vision is, but I need to employ it everywhere, including volunteer situations. To that end, as a reminder, it's Live to Lead season. And Live to Lead Charlottesville is one of the ways that I want to serve you. These speakers are amazing. The interactive activities will truly help you in all 3 of these areas. Of course, it's right around the corner on Friday, October 18th, but LeaderPass doesn't expire until the end of February. So if you're listening to this after October 18th, 2024, no worries. I got you on LeaderPass. It could be your answer. Now, I want to hear back from you. I want to know what works and what doesn't. I want to know how this hits you. What's the spotlight revealing in your life, right? DM me on Instagram or LinkedIn. Email me, Andrea@theintentionaloptimist.com. Respond to my newsletter, like and subscribe my YouTube channel and share it with your friends, or rate, review, and follow, especially if you want to give a 5-star review on any place that you're listening to this podcast, because it's time to stand tall and own it. It's time to stand tall and own the development and success of your team. This is the result you're looking for. My friend, the world needs more curious, welcoming, and wise leaders who understand their core values, who recognize their strengths, and live by a clear set of principles. This will give you the foundation to lead with integrity, humility, and authority, all while mentoring that next generation. See? Service, servant leadership. When leaders truly know who they are, when you know who you are, you can stop imitating others, own that vision for yourself, start defining your own principles and priorities, which creates a path for sustainable, impactful leadership. When you embody your unique values, you inspire and empower others to do the same thing. This fosters diversity and authentic leadership across generations. The final episode in this 4-part series on leadership is the reason for why you are a leader. It's the legacy that you leave behind. So what are you building and leaving behind? I can't wait to share it with you. Serving others, teaching them to serve others, it's all a good one. Until next time.